What's happening, guys? Welcome along to another episode of 420 News. Whoop. Flick that camera over a bit more to me. I'm not too sure what angle I was at there. What's happening? See the comments coming in there already, guys. Keep them coming in. Get in your hellos and I'll say hello to you. But guys, you are watching 420 News, brought to you by Martin's World. Hope everybody is good out there, guys. It is Fri-High-Day. So I hope everybody's blazing up in something nice, it's the festive season and all that, guys. Hope everybody's nearly all set now for the big day, maybe 15 days and counting. So exciting times ahead, guys. Yes, Feliz Navidad. Merry Christmas to all out there, and welcome, guys, welcome. Hopefully nobody's going to be a feature of today's 420 News, as we do have a couple of stories there coming across from the island of Ireland. There's no familiar names anyway in any of them, so hopefully it's none of you out there in the audience. Darren Newcomb's in the audience. What's happening, Darren? We've Danny Butler out there as well. We've Sean M. What's happening, Sean? Fudge France, what's going on, Fudge? And DB Woodcraft as well is out there. Fudge says, shit people, I have 20% battery and the power's gone again. 2 days in a row. Welcome to Leitrim. There goes my COD download. Oh no, man, that is a bummer. Like, bad enough not having power there for 2 days, but those Call of Duty downloads, like, there's nothing worse than those things. Those things can take forever. Fucking massive downloads there, sometimes they are. So hopefully that gets sorted soon, dude, and you're online shooting them up soon. Toto's in the audience. What's happening, Toto? And Darren Newcomb says, still waiting for cannabis, no weed all day. No, man, hopefully the dealer shows up there. Is it that I'll be there in 5 minutes, that usual thing, and it's just kind of like 2 hours later, you're like, where is he? Others in the audience, Barry Fields is out there. Hype is in the audience. What's happening, Hype? Evening everyone with an old coffee mug there as well. Yeah, I could certainly do with an old cup of coffee there now myself, actually. DB Woodcraft, another C word. Lovely, lovely. So what's happening out there, guys? Have you all had a good week? Did you miss me on Wednesday? I apologise for not being able to deliver the show on Wednesdays, but hopefully we'll be able to get back into the 3 shows a week, again very soon, maybe in the New Year's. What's that? Hype says, make sure all your shooting up goes down online. Don't you believe in the offline gaming and all, Hype, huh? No, I see what you're doing there, shooting up. Yeah, yes. Because us drug or cannabis consumers, we love all drugs. Not. But we love all people and all drug users. We don't differentiate. We don't hate. Billy Bonds is out there. What's happening, Billy Bonds? He says, hype the bot. Is hype a bot? Lovely, lovely. Sorry, we've a couple of headlines to get through for you today, guys. The very first one I'll delve into, and then I'll be leaving you for just a few minutes with a bit of a pre-recorded video that I put together yesterday as I wrote the article. There was an article I put up there on Martin's World, the 420 News blog. Well, as part of that article, I actually recorded a video as well. And the video I will be sharing with you there now in a couple of minutes. But I'll just pop up the article there for you as well, as I suppose it's worth just popping up on screen and maybe just talking a little bit about it. So give me a couple of seconds there now. We'll pop this up on screen for you all. It's over on the 420 News blog, guys, over on martinsworld.ie, if you haven't already seen it. There's also another one up there that I put up today, so check that out as well. Make sure you give it a share around the place. Help spread the word, help spread the news, and get those articles out there far and wide. But right, let's get this one up there now for you. There we go. So this was an article I put together yesterday. I woke up, look, just being very honest about this, I wake up every day. I think I've said this before, when I wake up in the morning, pretty much like not far from the first thing on my mind is kind of, what's the plan for today in terms of trying to undo this prohibition of cannabis. Like my mind is just pretty much tortured by it every waking moment. If I'm not caught up in some other stuff going on in life, it's always been brought back to this problem of that prohibition causes in my life. So I just felt it was worthwhile sharing it after Judge Staines, pictured there in the photo, shared her opinions in court yesterday. And that's all she shared, like, was her opinions, because this judge is in no way qualified to make the judgment that she made, that cannabis causes depression, schizophrenia and anxiety. And, which, like, it can cause that for some individuals, but not everybody. You're talking about a very small percentage of people who will have these negative effects that this judge was talking about. But she made it sound as if everybody, you try cannabis, you are nearly goddamn guaranteed you're going to fall prey to depression, anxiety and schizophrenia from using cannabis, But as I said, she's just not qualified to do so. And in fact, I'm much more qualified actually to speak about cannabis use and its effect on the human body than this judge. So I went and I just shared this article, which is effectively just highlighting how cannabis prohibition has had a drastically negative effect on my mental health, and still to this day it has a negative effect on my mental health. As I said, first thought in the morning is kind of, how am I going to undo this wrong that fell before on me because of this stupid prohibition? These I don't know, what would you call them, like the terrorists, like that's all I can really see them like, is our government, these terrorists out there who want to force us to conform to their way of living, in this life of abstinence from cannabis, which is inhuman. And that's pretty much why I finish off this article here in stating that the prohibition of cannabis is inhuman. Cannabis prohibition is an anti-human policy and it needs to end. But within the article I shared my experiences from the first time I was introduced to cannabis by my cousins, and I shared there my late cousin Ozzy, who my now son is named after, Elijah Daniel. Well, Daniel and Philly first introduced me to cannabis at a time, when I was going through kind of, I was navigating a difficult period in my life. I moved from the Glen at a young enough age, and when I moved up to Ballyvalan, it was difficult to fit in up there. I found myself being bullied quite often, first because, I was new to the area, but then, a couple of years on, it was because of the colour of my skin. I'm not pasty white like most of my friends were at the time. But still, they took it upon them to pick on me, calling me things like, quite often or not, it was Packy, Sammy Boo, nigger, things like that I was getting called, from a young enough age, kind of 9, 10 upwards. And it was a difficult enough thing to deal with, to try to find this group that I could fit in with. And it wasn't until I was old enough to start heading over to the Glen, hanging out with my cousins and stuff, that I found this group, with my cousins and their friends, who were then my friends. I was able to kind of hang around and socialise with them, and that was great. And I was offered cannabis then, in the form of soap bar hash from my cousin. And I didn't say no. I didn't refuse it. And I suppose the rest is history. Me using cannabis that time, I really enjoyed it. I've highlighted in the past the reasons why I enjoyed it. That it was the social inclusion there of being a part of something with my friends, but also because of how the cannabis allowed me to engage with my thoughts for what I describe as the first time in any way of in a meaningful way. I definitely believe that prior to being introduced to cannabis, I wasn't really engaging with my thoughts in an effective way, and that cannabis allowed me just to slow down, to be present, just to kind of just to ground myself, and that was incredibly beneficial. And I highlight through the article, it wasn't until 2 years later then that I first experienced the first negative consequence of cannabis, when I was caught with cannabis. And then afterwards, I was hounded by the cops. And this created big problems in my life, especially from the delivery of that first bloody summons to my mum and dad's house. That drove a big wedge between me and my family, which that put me at risk of becoming a victim of drug abuse, and drug addiction, because I was looking for an outlet. I was looking for a form of escapism at the time, to get away from this kind of the thoughts that were going on in my head, that there's something wrong with you, you're a druggie, you're bringing shame in your family, and all of this stuff that goes with it. You're nothing but a low life criminal, and there's like all of these things were going on in my head. You know, but luckily I found the ability to stand up on my own 2 feet. You know, probably because of the bullying I faced earlier in my life. You know, I was kind of I was used to being bullied in a way, and in the past I never really stood up for myself. So in this situation, I was determined to stand up for myself, and still to this day, I stand up for myself against this bloody law. Go on to highlight how the most recent summons I received there back in back in June of 2020, due to a cannabis joint I was caught with in April 2019. That just really messed up my head again back then. Even that day, you know, and I shared a picture here that was taken on the day, you know, not long after that photo was taken. And I just highlight how in the photo, you know, I'm smiling and everything on the surface, but underneath, like, you know, I'm broken. I'm broken inside. I'm not feeling well at all. You know, I'm finding it hard to be present because I'm just torn to the future where I'm going to be before the judge, you know, and he's going to be determining whether he should take away my freedom to live my life, to be out there cycling with my daughter, as I choose to, you know. So that's the effect that cannabis prohibition has had on my mental health and my life. And I just felt that it was important to share that story there. So if you haven't read it already, guys, get over there, give it a read, and more importantly, give it a share then as well. Get this out there, you know, let's undo these harmful comments being made by the judge, and let's really shine a light on the harms of cannabis prohibition, and the fact that they're far greater than the supposed harms of cannabis. So I will quickly run off there, guys, as I do have to drop Alexis down to her old acrobatic training. But before I do, I'll just hit play on this video that I recorded yesterday, and I recorded this video prior to writing the article. This video, I just wanted it to get what was in my head just out there, you know, and to listen back then and to kind of form my article a bit from that. So I might upload this video as well to my YouTube channel later on. But you know, this is very revealing. You know, this is it's very sensitive stuff for me. Like I'm like, I want to share this stuff, but it has to be said. Like I'm not comfortable with sharing this stuff. I'm not comfortable with disclosing the fact that, you know, that this prohibition is at times made me feel suicidal. You know, I'm not comfortable with this, but at the same time, I see the importance in doing it. It needs to be done. We have to share our experiences, guys. So but before I hit that play button, guys, I'd like to just say thanks to the Hype and to all of you guys out there who continue to support this show. Hype, thanks very much, pal. Hype says keep the head up, mate. Happy High-Day, bleed purple. Yes, nice one. Bleed purple, I'd imagine that's probably a bit of an emoji, is it, or something like that? Bleed purple. But nice one, Hype. Thanks very much there for the support as always, pal. Great number one supporter of the show, I have to say, out there, at least through the donations there. Anyway, Hype, really do appreciate it. Thanks very much. And all of those funds, guys, that have been sent into the show, they do help keep the show running, you know, to pay for the website, to pay for the streaming. But there is, you know, you're very generous out there, guys, and we do have a surplus building up, and that will all be put towards the fight for cannabis legalization next year, and to hopefully opening up that hub that I've been talking about now since starting this show. I really want to do it, and it's we'll do it soon, hopefully. You know, maybe somebody's out there who'll have space and they'll just give it to us, but I feel sorry for me, as I've been trying, and it just seems like the current properties that are out there are just really outside of the budget that we have. All right, guys, I'll give you a bit of a pre-recorded piece as I run out there, and I'll be back again shortly. So hopefully this is enough to keep you going until I get back. All right, everyone. I just want to do this video there to accompany an article that I'm about to write. I suppose this video is going to help me write the article. But I'd like to just talk about a topic that I don't talk about too often, and I probably should, as I know it's something that affects many people in our community, and it's the topic of mental health. And I suppose it affects people in our community, not for the reason as the media would want to believe, you know, that especially with that recent article there or the recent comments by that judge, Catherine Staines. Catherine Staines, you know, commented how cannabis causes depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia, and that the person should give it up. You know, she was passing this judgment that she's not qualified in any way to pass in terms of the effects of cannabis. It's like, how can she make such a claim in her position as a judge of a court? Like she's clearly showing her bias in that. But not only that, I suppose, but she's just completely overlooking the effect of her actions on the individual before her, as she claims to be caring and compassionate and considerate to that person, but her actions could actually have a big impact upon the mental health of that person. And that was the case for myself. And I suppose I'd like to just share my story and all of that, because I come on here and I smoke cannabis and I consume cannabis here on the show regularly, and people might be like, oh, look at him and he's glorifying and stuff, but I'm ashamed of who I am and what I have to do, and I do it because I'm fearful of the other option that I once entertained, and I still to this day quite can. It pops into my head. I entertain it at times. I play around with the thought of it, and that's suicide. That's that's not good. Like, just to escape the pain, the suffering caused by this stupid prohibition. My use of cannabis began at a young age of 15. And it was because, I would have said at the time, it was because of peer pressure. But peer pressure is why I suppose I first tried it, but why I continued to use cannabis. It was probably some form of self-medicating. Before I ever tried cannabis, I had a rough enough, I suppose, childhood, as many people kind of would. Had a caring, loving family and everything like that. But unfortunately, I got bullied quite a lot growing up. Got picked on quite often because of the color of my skin. I'm not like white, pasty white. I'm kind of got a half caste, maybe quarter caste. But still, the kids in my area at that time, I used to get picked on quite often, or not because of that. I was a bit of a wimp as well. I never really stood up for myself, so I took a few slaps off people that I probably could have kicked the crap out of if I actually stood up for myself, but I never really did. It wasn't until I got into martial arts afterwards that I started building a bit of confidence and a bit of backbone for myself. But then, I always was looking for an accepting social circle as well, where the peer pressure might have came into it too. When I was first introduced to cannabis, it was by my cousin. And my cousins lived in the Glen. I lived in Ballyvlan at the time. We had moved away from the Glen. But I never really fit in up in Ballyvlan. I used to get picked on because I used to be from the Glen. They'd be like, oh, you're a Glenhead. So eventually I used to just go back up in the Glen, hang around with my cousins and stuff. And, it wasn't too long before I got to try a bit of hash. And I enjoyed it. It was very beneficial for me, as I often said in the show. I believe that first use of cannabis allowed me to engage with my thoughts in a way in which I hadn't done before. And also the social circle that came with that, hanging out with the lads, being able to get a bit of hash and chilling out, smoking out with the lads, watching some movies, going getting the munchies, just hanging around the place. There was a social aspect of it there as well. But I would also say, that there was many benefits to the cannabis in my life at that time. And yeah, the social circle would have been one of them. And it wasn't until a couple of years after that, after 2 years later, I was about 17 when I first got stopped and searched by the cops. And then from then it just railroaded, just got out of control. The amount of times I was getting stopped and searched by the cops, it was just ridiculous. But that first stop and search, that was an awful experience, really. You feel very powerless, you feel very vulnerable, you can feel incredibly victimized. And there's no pathway for a course, there's no way you can ever, because like society just deems you a criminal. They deem what was done, rightful, and it's just like, well, yeah, they were doing their job. The law is the law, but it's like, well, gay relationships. What if the guards were stopping and searching my car and I was there with my gay lover? If I had a gay lover, would people then say that was a righteous action because the guard is just doing their job? They're just upholding the law. As we know, the law can be quite wrong at times. And I've suffered, for a long time because of this, and after that first stop and search, it was quite a while before the summons actually arrived. I was 18 by the time the summons arrived. And, as I said, that when that summons arrived, that put a wedge between me and my family then, because, like, they were ashamed. And then that brought more shame on me. It was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, oh, and it's just like, it just spiraled out of control. Then, I was like, I was more at risk of leading into a life of drug abuse then because of that, because of the problems going on in my head. But luckily, I suppose for me, in one sense, I was just very inquisitive. I asked more questions rather, and rather than pointing the blame at myself and being more shamed at myself, I would always ask questions. Well, why is this? Like, why is this law in place, and why is society treating me in this way? And from that then, and also facing bullies in the past, and having a desire to stand up for myself, I was like, right, here's like another bully, and that's all I've seen them as bullies, because when you look into it, that's kind of what they are. There's no real science or facts there to back up prohibition. It's all just moral, ideological conjecture. It's just them imposing their will upon you to have you conform your life to their way that they believe that you have to live. But that's wrong, that's inhumane. And the way in which you get treated by the courts then and labelled as a criminal in society. Like, if Catherine Judge Staines wants to talk about things that cause anxiety, depression and schizophrenia, well, the way in which we treat people who consume cannabis is certainly going to do that. And it's definitely done it to me. As I say, I, as a young person with bullying and stuff like that, I think I would have battled with thoughts of suicide and self-harm from an early age. And I would have felt like I had that under control up to the point. The breaking point for me was when I was removed from my home and I was put up into a holding cell in Mayfield for overnight to be brought to court the next morning, all because, I was refusing to pay my fines for possession of cannabis, and I was refusing to show up in courts because the courts, it's all a big scam. You go in there and you say it to the judge, hey, come here, look, I'm gonna, like, this law is violating my rights. I'm not doing anybody any harm. What's up? And he was like, oh, this is not the place for that conversation. You're breaking the law. I'm just doing my job. And just like, where's the human aspect in this? Like, where's the compassion within the system? There's none. There's only compassion for people who go in there and say, like, oh yeah, I'm a drug addict. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll never do this again. And then they'll show them compassion, and they'll show that same compassion to fucking burglars, thieves, rapists, pedophiles. It's horrible. It's a horrible system inside there to go in and witness it. Like, I've sat through some horrible court cases, all because of cannabis possession charges, and I had to listen to some horrible stories there in terms of like child abuse and stuff like that. Horrible stuff that I should never have been exposed to, because I've not broken laws anywhere else in my life. I've not ever been in trouble with the law except for this one thing with cannabis. So the point of this whole article or this whole video really is, and the article to go with it will be, that the prohibition of cannabis is very much a factor in causing people's depression, anxiety in life, and causing, thoughts of suicide, people causing self-harm in themselves, entertaining the thought of just wanting to kill themselves, because what's the point? For me as a dad now, 3 kids, and they have a lot to live for with them, but sometimes, that's just not enough. Life throws enough curveballs at you as it is, and to have this unnecessary battle there on my hands, to try to get back my righteous good name. Martin Condon should not be a criminal in Irish society, because I've not done anything to deserve that conviction, except, break a law that some corrupt individuals put in place. It's like, no, I shouldn't have to face that at all. So I don't know, I just wanted to get this off my chest. That it helps. I was feeling quite low there this morning, feeling a bit better now. But this shouldn't be the case. I shouldn't have to have this waking up every morning with this shame. And that's what it is, to be labelled a criminal in society, to have your ability to get a job, your ability to travel hampered. That's something to be ashamed of. I bring shame on my family, because of what I do. I can't help it, but while I know my family are probably quite proud of me, I can't help but feel, that they're somewhat ashamed as well at the same time, that, oh, is that your brother there? Or is that your son? Or, is that your dad? The cannabis guy. I don't want to be the cannabis guy. I've got so much more to offer in my life than being the cannabis guy. It's just that was something that brought a lot of benefit to my life, and it helped me in my life. So I felt like it was worth, it was a belief that I felt like it was worth standing up for, and I was standing up for it. But at a time when I was becoming a young dad, I was 17 when my girlfriend became pregnant. I was still 17 when my first child was born, and I brought her into this world. I wasn't a criminal at that time. But they labelled me a criminal then because of the way in which I lived my life, which harmed nobody. I was a caring, loving father. I was an active member in society. You know, I was a positive, active member in society. I was giving back. But still, it's not enough. It's like, no, well, you're breaking this ideological law that we have. You know, we're breaking this prohibition. But then you look at the effect of that prohibition in society. It's not only damaging my life, but it's damaging our community. It's damaging the standing of our Gardaí in our community. It's damaging the effectiveness of the Gardaí to carry out their duties in our community. It's clogging up the court system. You know, it's wasting taxpayers' money on things that it should not be wasted on. I hear stories out there of people with children with mental health or mental disabilities, you know, learning disabilities, sorry, and they're not able to get access to the services, you know, that they're entitled to because of, you know, maybe funding difficulties. But meanwhile, there's no shortage of funding for Operation Taras and all of these unnecessary raids, when we could just turn around and legalise cannabis. You know, we could have done it 8 years ago when Luke Ming Flanagan put forward a bill, and it was a very good bill at the time, but a bunch of ignorant politicians wouldn't entertain it. And here we are now, 8 years later, we've got judges in there spouting this misinformation. That's exactly what it is, and I'm going to be lodging a formal complaint against that misinformation being spouted. You know, she should stick to her area expertise, the law. This guy broke the law, that's fine, just stick to that. Don't be going giving your this unsolicited medical advice, because you are not qualified in any way, shape or form to be given that at all, Judge Catherine Staines. And it's very harmful for people like myself, you know, who rely on cannabis as a therapeutic tool to deal with life's hardships, you know, and that's what it very much is. At times it's a very therapeutic tool to deal with life, and hearing comments like that hurts me. It does, and that damages my mental health then as well. You know, to be battling these thoughts. Well, is she right? She's a judge. Maybe she could be right. You know, no, she's not fucking right. But yet still I have these battles in my mind. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. And yeah, all is well. You know, this is just another form of therapy for me. This is another way of me just dealing with my life's issues, just talking about it, speaking out into the ether. Obviously, you know, there's no one speaking back, but I'll see your comments, and yeah, I'll appreciate them as well, guys. So until Friday, until the next 420 news, guys, stay blazed, keep it lit, guys, and watch yourselves, look after yourselves, and if any of you have any issues, if any of you, you know, battle with your mental health as well because of this prohibition, and if you'd like to share your experiences and stuff like that with me, by all means do martinsworldpodcast@gmail.com, or you can use the Martin's World hotline as well. Pop up the hotline number there for you. 1 second now. Boom, there we go. There's the hotline number, guys, if you ever want to give it a text. It doesn't be on all the time, but when I do turn it on, I will get your messages. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. So, until then, guys, much love. Peace. Boom, there we go. Apologies, guys. Before I left, I hit mute on the mic. I'm forever doing it. Like, I wish that was like the first time I've ever done it on the show, but sadly, it's fucking not. Where's my young Jamie when I need it? Yeah, if you were listening, if you managed to listen, I gave the winning lot of numbers, but I forgot what they were now. Damn Cannabis. Short-term memory. Joke. But yes, guys, as I was saying there while I was muted, I hope that video was received well. As I said, it wasn't easy to record that, and it was certainly not easy to be sharing it either. You know, it makes me feel very vulnerable, I suppose. You know, sharing that stuff. It's really just opening up, but it has to be done. As I said, it really has to be done. I was talking there as well about one of the commenters in the comment box. As I was out, I was kind of paying attention to the stream. Alexis was keeping me updated on what was being said in the comment box, guys. And she was telling me that one of the commenters said that his wife has schizophrenia, and that cannabis can be beneficial and it can be negative. You know, it can be not so beneficial, and that commenter believes it was down to the strain. And that's a big problem out there, you know, when we've got judges spouting these kind of things. Oh, cannabis will cause schizophrenia, depression, anxiety. And it's like, no, actually, it's getting access to a cannabis strain that you have no idea as to what the strength actually is. That could cause anxiety. Because, by God, if you, like, are a first-time smoker or a novice consumer, you know what I mean, and you get some fucking bomb-ass stuff, like that stuff is going to make you fucking anxious, you know, you're paranoid even. But again, that's not down to the cannabis, like, per se. It's down to the environment in which you bought it, where you as a consumer get no information about what it is you're actually consuming. So again, to go to alcohol, you know what I mean? If you went into the off license and you said, "Can I have a drink there?" and he gave you a drink, and you've no idea as to whether it's fucking a Bud Light, you know, or one of those German beers that are like 10%, or fucking vodka that's like 40 or 37.5%. You know what I mean? Like, imagine that. Like, it's absolutely crazy that what we gonna do. But yeah, I'm gonna blaze one up. Oh, that's delicious. We've got some purple godbud inside here, guys. I've no idea as to the exact strength of it, but I've some rough ideas to because I know the strain. So I have an idea of the strain, so I can kind of look it up. I can get a rough idea, but unless I have it tested, I have no real idea. But still, you know, by growing your own or knowing somebody who grows it and getting it from them, then you as a consumer can do some bit to protect yourself and reduce the potential harms out there. Not from cannabis, but from cannabis prohibition. So we'll blaze one up, guys, as we defy cannabis prohibition here on the show yet again. Let's hope I got a lighter on me drawer. I do. Yes. Shout out to any lighter providers out there, guys. Get them in here. You can have a nice sponsor on the show, lo. Look at that, lo. There's a plain old lighter there, lo. Be great if your company's logo was on this and it got flashed every time Martin engaged in some civil disobedience. Yes, shameful shout out there for some sponsors. Righty, right, alright. Let's get stuck on to today's other headlines that I've lined up for you. So the first headline that I have for you today in the 420 news is the, yet again in the courts, we hear one of the oldest excuses in the books when it comes to people engaged in criminality and drug use. This is the case of a burglar who was caught with €29,000 worth of drugs. He says he done it because he is a drug addict. And as I said, this has got to be one of the oldest excuses in the book. But yet still, the judge, you know, fell for it in this case, and in many other cases as well. They fall for it, you know what I mean? They eat it up because they love hearing it. Oh, I'm a dirty, filthy drug addict, judge, and thank God you caught me, judge. You know, I'm going to change my way, judges. God praise the Lord, I've been saved by this judge. You know, Judge Staines out there thinking she's done great, like, you know. But in reality, It's just a lie. It's just a lie to get off with it. Like this guy, he shouldn't even be getting off with it. He shouldn't be getting any pity. He's a burglar. Okay, or he's robbing to feed his habit. Like, come on, come off the stage. Like, he could just sell drugs to feed his habit. Like, you don't have to be going out there robbing. There's other choices you can make before you go as low as robbing, breaking into people's houses. This guy was caught with knives and everything. Crazy situation. But the old excuse, oh, Judge, please feel sorry for me. I'm a drug addict. This guy is 24. His name was Jacob Brew. And he's from above in Dublin, and he was above in Dublin Circuit Criminal Court. And above there, his judge was talking about how he was a law-abiding citizen, up until the age of 21. Well, in reality, what the judge actually means is, Judge, this guy never got caught breaking a crime up until the age of 21. A law-abiding citizen. Like, are you trying to say like that this guy never engaged in his drug use prior to the age of 21? It's just going to be a story that he's come up with there to kind of go in and to paint a picture of himself that, look, I made a mistake, and the life is so tough. I'm a drug addict, so I have to go out there and I have to rob people. Messed up, but it really is messed up. The judge in this case, anyway, sorry, I'm just looking. The judge in this case gave the defendant, what did he give him? The judge says she was taking into consideration the fact that he had addressed his drug addiction while in custody, his remorse, and the continuing support from his family, who are hard-working, respectable people. The judge really suspended the final 2 years of a 5.5-year prison sentence. So you got a 3.5-year sentence, 2 years suspended, and on condition that he keep the peace for that period, engage with the probation services as well. And when this guy was caught, he was caught with knives and everything, So imagine this guy breaking into your gaff, strung out, say, on gear, because he said he's addicted to crack cocaine and heroin. So imagine this guy breaking into your gaff and, he's robbing you with a knife, and meanwhile he finds himself in front of a judge, and the judge decides to throw him a bone, show him some pity. Backwards country, and there's fellas out there getting caught just with cannabis, getting caught with less cannabis than this, and they're getting more than this. Was that not the case of the guy who was out lamping rabbits? Did he not get caught with, I think it was just over a kilo. I think that was like over 20 grams worth of cannabis or something like that. Now, I know he left the country for a while, but the judge imposed like 8 years of a 10-year sentence on him. This guy's a fucking thief. You got more cannabis than that guy. And the judge is showing pity on him. He's like, oh yeah, we let you off there a little bit. Look, and you should do 3 years, but if you're good in prison, we let you out in a year. So the Irish justice system is incredibly weak. But we drive on from there because of our weak justice system here in Ireland. Ireland is now a target for international drug gangs and foreign drug gangs who've been using Ireland due to the high profits in drug sales here. And there's a little pun intended there as well. But this is a case in the Irish courts where Leonard's Gerhans, 24 years of age, was caught with 41 cannabis plants of November 2nd in 2020. And he says he was ordered to fly here from Latvia, and he would have been paid €6,000 for coming over here for a number of months and taking care of the cannabis plants there. So you see a small number of cannabis plants, but still, nonetheless, it's a sizable reward. Like, let's say $6,000, $2,000 a month, and you're from Latvia. Like, I don't know what's the minimum wage in Latvia. Like, let's just look at it for wage Latvia. Or average weekly wage, it's €430 per month. So there you go, minimum wage in Latvia, €430 per month, and that's from June 2020. Let's say average wage. Yeah, so the average wage there is about €400 to €500 a month. So you have a young fella, okay? You have a 24-year-old, like, easily impressionable, like, easy to manipulate young fella. Vulnerable as well. This young fella grew up in an orphanage, he's estranged from his family and stuff, like, incredibly vulnerable young fella. And a gang comes along and they say, hey, come here, look, here's a plane ticket, go on over to Ireland, take care of a couple of plants, it's only going to take you 3 months, and we'll give you $6,000. Young fella's going to be like, fucking, you what? Pinch myself there, look, am I dreaming, you know what I mean? Like, $6,000, seriously, and you're going to give me a free gaff and everything over there while I'm there? Yeah, not a bother. Like, not a bother would he take it. He'd bite the hand off of the person offering it to him, to be fair, like. Like if the average wage is about 400 to 500 euro a month, and you're going to get 2 grand a month to go over and sit in a house and watch some plants, watch some TV, literally Netflix and chill for 3 months with a bit of gardening in between. And you're going to get that. Yeah, I've seen some people out there, 1,976 is the average wage in the UK. Well, god damn, you know what I mean? And that's the 1976 UK wage. Sorry, 1976 UK wage. But yeah, it's this is why Ireland's becoming an incredible target for these gangs. And then, like, when we look at these gangs coming in here, like, what they're bringing with them, it's not just the people from there, but it's the tactics from there. Like some of these gangs could be a lot more violent, a lot more ruthless than some of the gangs that we're used to here in Ireland. These guys might be a lot quicker to pull the trigger, in terms of, and I mean that figuratively and literally, in attacking their rivals. And that's what's happening in Ireland. It's only going to grow. Like this problem, again, pardon the pun there, but this problem is going to continue to grow as long as we allow this prohibition to remain in place. We're going to continue to attract these foreign gangs to our country because of the lucrative market here in our country for the drugs. And if you were to fly a guy over here for 3 months, 6 grand in the gaff, he grows some cannabis plants. Let's say these. What was it? How many plants did he get caught with? Was it 60 or 41 cannabis plants? Was it 41 cannabis plants? Let's say he gets a couple of kilos out of that. A kilo in Ireland is worth like of 20 grand. According to the cops, street value. They probably get about maybe 8 grand. Wholesale price, maybe 10 grand even currently. But with the thing like with the whole pandemic and stuff like that. But it's all just making this, it's incredibly lucrative for these guys, and the longer we leave prohibition to remain in place, the longer we're going to see this sort of thing happening here. This young fella got taken advantage of. He was a vulnerable individual, and because of prohibition, he got preyed upon. Prohibition did that. Prohibition. Not drugs, prohibition. Like, we want to talk about harms in our society. We're just like, literally, you can be an innocent individual out there, and this harm could fall before you because, you could be walking down the road and there could be a rival drug gangs have a bloody feud and you get caught in between it. And prohibition is the reason you fell in between that. Not because of the drugs. They'll say, they try to blame the drugs through the media. But I'm telling you here, guys, the truth. It's the prohibition that done that. It's the prohibition that has rival drug gangs selling drugs on our streets and using violence then to fucking secure their turfs, But we drive on, guys, and another infuriating case out of the Irish courts. This is a case coming out of Dublin, where a 22-year-old MS patient was seen throwing away a joint out the car window, and he was given a probation act in order to pay €300 donation to PA the house. And this is the case of Adam McLean. And he said that he takes cannabis to help manage the symptoms of his multiple sclerosis. Again, a young fellow who's not really been in trouble with the cops in the past, but still, he's found himself up now in front of the judge and is being treated like a criminal. Like, he's 22 years of age. He's got multiple sclerosis. He mentions here in the court that the fact that he's prescribed like a lifelong treatment for this. Like, he's going to be on drugs for the rest of his life to treat the symptoms of his condition. He mentions the fact that cannabis, yes, it helps his condition. But what has come, again, because of the terrorism there within the courts, because of how the courts, intimidate people, make people fearful, literally in fear of their life, that their freedom is going to be taken away. What's this young fella do? He gives up that plant that's given him such therapeutic. If you're a paedophile or a rapist, this is like, yeah, well, whatever the judge wants to give you, he can give you. Yeah, I noticed that there as well, Zaggles. I seen an old blink on the screen. I'm not too sure what happened there. The stream seemed to have reset for some reason. Back. Again, apologies about that. I noticed there that even the timer above there is after resetting as well. So hopefully I'm coming through to everybody again, and hopefully you caught most of my rant there anyway about the bloody Irish courts. But we drive on in another case here in Ireland again, you know, if you're not pissed off enough yet already. We got to Bunclody, where a man in Bunclody was caught, a 42-year-old was caught with 60 cannabis plants, and he was remanded on bail under strict conditions. And this is the case of Wayne Kilbride, who was caught with 60 cannabis plants on December 1st of this year. And those cannabis plants, they were valued at over €170,000. So quite a substantial haul, I suppose, there for the guards, really. In reality, it's only 60 fucking plants. Like, come on, like, it's a tiny old operation. Like, it's literally a craft cannabis cultivation, you know, setup. Wayne Kilbride, you know, he could have been the Kilbride's Cannabis, you know, literally, you know, Kilbride's top buds, whatever you wanted to call it there. He could have been an entrepreneur within that community, employing people, paying wages there to people, those wages contributing then to the exchequer, you know, with the income tax, the tax on the cannabis that he would sell and provide to the community. At the same time then, you know, the business he's taken away from the criminals out there, the organised crime gangs, you know. So, Wayne Kilbride, he's remanded on bail. He's to follow the following conditions. He's to stick to a curfew of between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. So that means that this guy is so dangerous that he's only allowed out between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. Do you know, because after 10 o'clock, like, you can't trust this guy. You know, he's a danger to us. He's a menace to society. He's also asked to surrender his passport and not apply for any further travel documents. That's just in case, you know, he tries to go to one of these other countries where people like himself are actually treated like a human being and afforded an opportunity to set up a legitimate business and employ people, you know, and provide a high quality product to consumers who would appreciate it. You know, for fair to that, they've taken his passport off him to keep him in Ireland so they can, criminalise him and make sure he faces the punishment for his horrendous crime of growing a couple of plants. Anyway, he's to sign on also at Enniscorthy Garda Station on Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, you know, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. So again, he's so dangerous that they're going to afford now a Garda to deal with him on 3 days of the week, you know, for a small period of time it might be, but that's still a period of time where a phone call might go unanswered, you know, add to the number of what are those domestic fucking violence calls that go unanswered. Do you know how many of those calls went unanswered because a cop was standing at the counter giving a book to some dude who's there to sign on because of a cannabis case? I would hope that's zero. But, you know, sadly in Ireland, you know, we had those cases. There was 60,000 freaking unanswered phone calls, and was a couple of thousand of them were for domestic violence cases. What a sick country we bloody live in. But we could drive on from there anyway, guys, and we go back to a case that I've covered in the past, actually. This is the case of a Cork student, but not from Cork. He's above in Dublin. He's a native Corkonian. Why didn't that pop up there now? 1 second out. College student. There we go. Boom. College student caught with over 4,000 worth of cannabis and other drugs, given a Section 100. And you might remember, you know, that the Section 100, that is that's the same punishment that our buddy Tony Keogh got. But there's a quote here from the judge, actually, included in the lower third. I'll just pop it up there again, and it's due to the severe restrictions and the enormous potential of this young man. Do you know, that's a quote that actually in inverted commas there. That's a quote from the judge residing over this case. Because this guy got treated differently from the rest of us, you know, because of this guy, you know, he's a qualified student, you know, and he's doing so well for himself. He excelled, as the judge said, he excelled at his academics, and he's abstained from his drug use, you know, he's diverted away from his life of drug use and crime. You know, and because of the damages that could be done, you know, to hamper his potential, you know, not just at getting jobs either, like, you know, it's also at travelling, the judge mentions, you know. So she gave this guy the Section 100. So Judge Greeley, that's who resided over this case, said she intended to impose Section 100 due to the fact that the student is a very young man with no previous convictions, who has enormous potential in terms of his future opportunities, which would be severely restricted if he had a conviction. Which I do, you know what I mean? I talk about this all the time. I have to wake up every morning and to fucking realise that I'm waking up into a life where my fucking life is severely restricted in terms of my future opportunities, you know, despite the enormous potential I have as still, you know, a man in his middle age. But I was been denied this opportunity from a time when I was a young man. Maybe not a very, very young man as this guy, but still a young man full of fucking potential. And yet judges, you know, there's like, no, give him a conviction there, you know, send him on, you know, he's been caught with cannabis too many times now. We're not going to give him chances. We're going to just wreck his life. It's like, what? It's like, you're going to wreck my life because my drug use, which apparently is criminal because of how harmful it is to my life. It's like, mind blown, like, you know? We're going to make this thing illegal because it's harmful to your life. And if you do it, we're going to harm your life. Makes perfect sense. These guys must be fucking smoking something stronger than me anyway, like, because that makes absolutely perfect sense, doesn't it? But Judge Greeley gave him a condition, the Section 100 and also a €500 fine. He also has to carry out voluntary work at St. Vincent de Paul for 3 months and to keep to the peace and be of good behaviour during the period. So this guy, like, they actually went out of their way with this guy because of his enormous potential now that this guy was, you know, because of his qualifications and his skill set that he had. They actually went out of their way to find a suitable location for him to do his voluntary work. Do you know what I mean? So effectively, like, they went out there to the different organisations. St. Vincent de Paul is the ones who won out. But they're like, who wants some slave labour? We've got a young fella here and he got caught with some cannabis and we want to teach him a lesson, so we're going to make him work 3 months on paid work. Do you know, it's a great crack, isn't it? And they done it. Like, St. Vincent de Paul taking advantage of a person in a vulnerable situation. Like, a shame on them, and a shame pay the house as well. You know, all of these benefactors of this suffering, of this hardship being set upon people, which is wrong. It's a violation of their human rights, and it's just another form. It's a form of terrorism of our citizens. That's all I can see it, you know. The stream is still gone on Postbook. Ah, beckers. That's a bummer. We'll have to sort that out. We'll see what happened there, and we're going to be sending Streamlabs some emails and see what the crack is and why my fucking stream is dropping like that, because it's not the first time that happened either. I noticed this happened in the past too. Excuse me. We drive on, guys, and we're trying to belt through these other few headlines that I have. He has I got to run again to collect the Lexus in 20 minutes. But €110,000 worth of cannabis was seized by the revenue. I'm going to pop up the lower third. Do I have it done? No, I don't have it done. Anyhow, €110,000 worth of cannabis was seized by revenue officials above in Dublin airport. The officials discovered 5.5 kilos of herbal cannabis worth €110,000 at Dublin airport. In the baggage of a passenger who had just arrived from Tenerife in Spain. This is a Slovakian man in his 20s, and he was arrested by the Gardaí after the seizure. So again, you know, you've a young man here coming from Tenerife in Spain, again, where we all know that cannabis, it exists in this kind of a legal grey area where it's easy to get and you don't get in too much trouble, you know, so it's very easy to get, but it's still not legal. And then we got these, again, like, you know, this Slovakian guy. Is he a part of some Slovakian gang that's literally just flying cannabis from Spain? Literally, you're over there in Slovakia. Again, what's the average wage in Slovakia? Let's just say, €580 a month. So there you go. Like, you're over in Slovakia. You say to somebody, hey, come here, look, I'm going to give you 2,000 quid. You're going to get on a plane, you're going to fly to Spain, you're going to go down to this gaff, you're going to pick up this package, you're going to put it into your luggage, and you're going to fly to Ireland. And you fly on home, you know what I mean? And you're going to do this all within, you know, about what, 3 days? Let's say 2 days, 1 day? You could do it all in 1 day, easily. You could fly from Slovakia, arrive in Spain early that morning, fly to Cork, arrive in Cork that day, and then fly back to Slovakia that evening again. It's a 1 day trip, and you make $2,000 for yourself. Meanwhile, you're making how much for the gangs? You know, if they were successful in getting that 5.5 kilos there, apparently street value 110 grand. So you take a $2,000 investment, you know, whatever the cannabis might cost, you know, 5.5 kilos of cannabis. Let's say you're getting a good deal there in Spain, and you're getting it for what, like, let's say 10 grand. So 12 grand, and you get it to Ireland, it arrives to Ireland, and you've just made 90 or 100 grand. You know, you just literally made 100 grand. Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do it? You're a fucking idiot to do it. So again, this guy is going to be above in the Irish prison system, the Irish justice system. He's going to avail now, most likely, of free legal aid. He's going to be getting 3 square meals a day. You know, he's going to be getting looked after. We're going to provide security, shelter there, and everything for him. At a time when, you know, there's elderly people across the island of Ireland, and they don't even turn on their bloody heating because the electricity bills, because of the heating bills, because of the carbon tax. We're screwing people. And meanwhile, we're affording all the expenses there. This guy's going to be above there in a holding cell that's going to have heaters on, you know, the new prison that they built there in Cork, decent high spec gym and everything in there. And meanwhile, we got elderly people out there who literally, you know, there were stories there in the past where they were using their free travel pass to go on the train because, you know, it was too cold in their house, and they didn't want to turn on the heating, you know, because of the expense that's associated with it. Man, I get really pissed off when I reading these stories and stuff like that. I have to take some time off for the good of my health. or else I'm just going to have to ignore these cannabis cases and just go do some cannabis science or something and just talk about the benefits of cannabis, because man, you get really angry reading some of this, and when you put in like these kind of stories side by side, you know, where we're affording all of this expense there to go after these criminals. And meanwhile, we got like kids with special needs, and they're not able to bloody get the services that they need because of lack of funding. It's like, come here, take some of the money that you're giving to the justice system and give it to the special needs system. Do you know? Fucking criminals, the lot of them, like, you know. But no, I'm the criminal. Scumbags. But we drive on anyway, and we leave Ireland and we go to the UK, guys, where a horrible case has come to a close over there. And it's a long-standing case. This is the case of, and I'll pop this guy's picture off. And we'll pop the lower third up. Yes, this is the case of a TV researcher who was on the run for over 16 years, has been convicted for the murder of Brian Waters, whose picture I just switched off. This guy, by the name of Moore, Tullamore, I think, or something like that was his name. Christopher Guest Moore. He's 43 years of age now, and almost 18 years ago, he was part of a brutal murder of Brian Waters, where Brian Waters and a number of others were tied up for a number of days and tortured. They had cigarettes put out on them, you know. They had some like just really cruel things done to them. They were tied up off of the rafters in an old barn on a farm where cannabis was being grown. And that's why I'm bringing this story here. Like, is this all occurred on a cannabis farm? Do you know? So these guys they were operating there on it, and I think that the issue arose over some money that was owed. So again, you look at this model of prohibition. This murder occurred because of prohibition. This is another death. This is more blood on the hands of prohibitionists out there who think that prohibition is a good idea. Because, you know, if this was a legitimate business, they don't operate that way. At least that's not the norm, you know, where it is the norm for these underworld kind of gangster types. It's not the norm for like your local offie if they owe money to their supplier. Their supplier is not going to come and torture them, you know, and do all of these kind of stuff to them. No, they're not. So this case came to a close, and what's your man's name again? Christopher Guest Moore was convicted of the murder of Brian Waters, along with others. There was others convicted there in the past as well, but as the case highlights, this guy went on the run for a number of years. They actually caught him over in Malta. So over in Malta, they actually caught up with this guy. I'll pop up on screen here one of the articles that I was reading, kind of getting some of the information about this guy on. So 1 second now. One second now, I'm going to have to get this up. Boom. Ah, yes, I was after closing the window behind. That's why it doesn't open. Sausage Marty. Nope, still not opening. Window capture. No. Streamlabs. No. Firefox. There we go. Yes. Sorry, guys. Sorry about the little mishap there. But this is over there on is that on the Daily Fail, the Daily Mail. So over there on the Daily Mail, they've shared this some of these fucking crazy images. Like this is another one of the individuals, an accomplice of Mr. Moore's, who was convicted already in the past. This is a guy by the name of James Raven, and he's pictured here posing with a pistol in his hand and a hatchet. Like, these are the guys you want to be buying your cannabis off of. But sadly, if you're buying cannabis from an unknown source, you don't know who you're supporting. Like, you know what I mean? You could be supporting this guy who thinks, I don't know, who he thinks he fucking is. A bally, a gun and a hatchet, like he's some sick fool. And this is another guy then. This is the guy who was actually on the run for the last 16 years. And this is the guy by the name of Christopher Moore. And his father apparently is a millionaire. But these guys were actually undercover TV researchers for BBC. And BBC have actually paid these two individuals quite a lot of money over the years for the work that they'd done for them under the watch of this lady by the name of Fiona Campbell. So it's an interesting case, but again, you know, there it says here, for 3 hours, Mr. Waters, who owed Mr. Wilson €3,000, was tortured while his children, Gavin and Natalie, were tied up and forced to watch. So not only did it murder this guy, but it done it in front of his son and daughter as well. His daughter was 19 at the time. I don't know how old his son was. But sick stuff. And prohibitionists would have you believe, you know, that prohibition is a good idea. But this story tells me that it is not. It is not a good idea in any way, shape or form. No way. Like, try, come on. Like, I put an open invitation to anybody out there, not that you're going to be watching my show, but come on, convince me. Come on, I'm happily to discuss it or debate anybody who thinks prohibition is a good idea of all drugs. But we drive on from there and we stick with the UK, and we've another case coming out of the UK where the cops get incredibly lucky down there, where cannabis worth over £136,000 was found in Falkirk after a suspected break-in. So again, the cops getting lucky in this situation, where they were investigating a break-in, and in doing so, they found 136,000 worth of cannabis plants. So my theory here in this one is that somebody knew that there was a cannabis grow there. They tried to break in. They were going robbing the plants, and maybe they went away. You know, they took some of the plants. They were going to come back for more, but in the process of them being missing, the cops had discovered the break-in. You know, that they were investigating the break-in. Maybe a neighbour or somebody was after reporting, you know, seeing something suspicious going on there. Hey, people are trying to break in, and the cops got lucky. So again, just highlighting how, you know, this operation would have continued to roll on. You know, a massive operation there. If it was 100,000 worth of plants like that, that's potential every 3 months. You know, because they can get that harvest every 3 months. You know, potentially. So it's a very lucrative operation, and the cops just getting lucky, just stumbling across it while investigating an unrelated case. You know, and is it worth it? Do you know, we keep this prohibition in place where the cops, you know, they're getting lucky. Like, literally, they're getting lucky. When the gangs are getting even luckier because the prohibition stays in place. But for the many people out there, we're suffering because of prohibition. And ever is that more true for the patients. And this next article is one that I recently wrote about there on the 420 News blog. And this is a case of 2 Labour MPs who pleaded in the House of Commons for better access to cannabis for the many patients out there who are suffering as a result of not being able to get access to it. This is the MP, Jeff. Sorry, his name is eluding me now. MP Jeff. Do you know, in fact, I will actually just get the video up for you. Jeff Smith, MP Jeff Smith, for Whittington. He's an MP for Whittington. But I'll pop up and screen the article I actually wrote for you there earlier. So, whoops, that's not the article I wrote for you earlier. No, that's still not the article I wrote for you earlier. Yes. This is the article. So never mind the lower third. I was just looking for that fucking Chrome thing. But this was the article I wrote anyway earlier, and it's highlighting how the Jeff Smith, an MP there for the Labour Party, brought up in the House of Commons that cannabis has helped a patient by the name of Alfie Dingley in stopping over 10,000 seizures, guys. 10,000 seizures. That's amazing. Like, if you ever need like evidence that cannabis, well, I've 10,000 fucking pieces of evidence here. Like, because you've a young boy, Alfie Dingley, who would have been suffering up to 150 seizures a week prior to getting access to cannabis as a medicine. And since getting access to cannabis as a medicine, Alfie Dingley is a massive 500 days seizure free. Like, if you want 10,000 reasons why, like, there's another 500 on top of it, like, you know what I mean? Like, 10,000 seizures stopped, like, 500 days seizure free. Like, how much more evidence do you need that patients should be afforded access to this plant, like, really? But I'll play here the video for you of that MP highlighting in it.
Hannah recently reported that Alfie hasn't had a seizure in over 500 days. Before his medical cannabis treatment, he was having 150 fits a week. So, although cannabis medicines aren't a silver bullet for everyone, they have been absolutely life-transforming for Alfie and for Hannah and the rest of the family. Now, Alfie's is a particularly unusual syndrome, but the majority of children in similar situations have not been able to get access to similar medicines, despite them being now legal.
Would my old friend work?
Yeah, I'm happy to give that.
I'm very grateful, Mr. Speaker. My old friend is making a fabulous speech. I'm sure people are going to study this after the event. But he's mentioned Mike Barnes. And I just wondered whether you would agree with me and Mike Barnes that those children who are outside those syndromes that he's so expertly describing, they actually have nothing to lose by trying to see if a cannabis-based product will work for them. Isn't that a grave injustice that those children are denied that?
Like, the fact, like, you know, that they continue to deny these patients access to medical cannabis is fucking crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like he says a grave injustice, like, but seriously, like, it's, man, like, it just really is infuriating. Andy McDowell, Donald, went on later on to continue to highlight how this lack of access to medical cannabis is a monumental shame. So I'll give that video a play there as well for you guys.
Simply trying to keep their children alive and free from the ravages of seizures by accessing a known and proven prescriptive solution. That these families cannot secure NHS prescriptions for their children when it has been proved beyond any doubt that cannabis is efficacious is a monumental shame. The campaign group End Our Pain rightly said that this saga has dragged on for far too long. Those families have petitioned, marched and campaigned with such dignity. They should not and must not be ignored.
And they are being ignored. That's the sad thing about this, you know. I played a video there for you the other day of Hannah Deacon. That's the mother of another child who suffers with I think that's Alfie's mum, actually. Is Hannah Deacon Alfie's mum? But anyway, you know, she spoke about how when cannabis was legalised, she believed that was going to be it, you know, that medical cannabis was legalised, that was going to be it for the patients who needed access, but it wasn't. You know, and I'll just pop up here the End Our Pain's website, because it's worth checking out, guys, if you haven't already done so. And these are the patient stories over there. There's many of them, and you know, each one of them, you know, is a reason why all of us should be out there to fight against this prohibition of cannabis, because keeping it in place is just so fucking wrong. Like, it's gone on for too long. Like, this is just literally dragged on for years. Like, these patients have been promised access for years. Literally years. Like, was it 2018 that they legalised access for medical cannabis in the UK? And still today, it's nowhere near effective, the access that they have. Hannah is actually speaking here in this video.
Hi, I'm Hannah, mum to Alfie and Annie. I fought so that my son Alfie could have access to medical cannabis under prescription.
Happy birthday, dear Alfie! Happy birthday!
'Cause 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 On the 1st of November, the UK legalised medical cannabis under prescription. I thought we had won for these children,
It was the 1st of November
but they are still being
2018.
blocked from accessing this medicine that could save their lives.
All right, mummy share. Don't worry, hold mummy's hand. It's okay.
These children are still suffering seizures daily. Their desperate parents want to ask those blocking access to their children's medicine, have you seen your child having a seizure?
Fucking horrible.
Have you ever seen your child being pumped full of pharmaceutical drugs with harmful side effects that could shorten their lives?
It's horrible shit to be watching, but you know.
As a parent, have you ever been told you could give your child something that would help them? And have that thing cruelly denied?
Alfie's medicine has been life-changing. All children should be allowed the same bright future Alfie has now. Help us fight this injustice. Write to your MP now at www.endourpain.org.
So guys, make sure you do follow End Our Pain, you know, if it's through their website or their social media accounts. A great group over there in the UK doing some great work, supporting some amazing families and even more amazing kids. That they need each and every person's support that they can get. Because still today, you know, there's MPs out there denying access to this fucking incredibly therapeutic plant. So guys, I'm gonna have to quickly bounce. So apologies for the hasty exit. But I will get back there maybe for a little live stream later on. And I'll finish off the one or two pieces of headlines that I have, and maybe we can shoot the breeze there in the chat. That might be a little bit after 7. And also, guys, at 9 p.m. This evening, I'll be joining the guys at High on Homegrown. So get that one down in your reminder as well, if you haven't already done so. High on Homegrown, we'll be chatting about the UK cannabis activist by the name of Outlaw. Yes, Outlaw needs to be doing a fucking lot more, because, you know, you see what you just seen there on screen, and Outlaw believes he has the answer to it all, and he's going to end the cannabis prohibition. Well, he fucking should have done it yesterday. Like, come on, if you've got the answers, dude, lay it out there, you know. So we're going to lay into Outlaw a little bit later on the High and Homegrown podcast. So check that out, guys, as well. So I'll love you and leave you guys, but I will be back, as I say, a little bit later this evening. I have 2 or 3 more headlines there that I want to get through with you, and we can shoot the breeze then in the comments section, as well as I just don't have the time for it right now. Apologies, guys, I really do apologize, but I better run. So much love, guys. We'll blaze one off before you go. We do quick time for the ball. But yes, guys, much love to all of you out there. We'll hit the festive link there as well. Watch this one. Yes, watch that one. Civil disobedience before we run. But I will catch you back here again, guys, in a little bit. Chat soon. Peace.